devices in here. It looks like one of them is assigned to you. It looks like they haven't been online for a while, so I'm not sure where these ended up or who has them. I'm not sure if you still have yours, but like I said, we did just place that order for the 5 devices that we're going to ship to you guys. We're just waiting on those T-Mobile SIM cards to arrive. And then, like I said, Drew and I kind of had a brief discussion yesterday afternoon about, just maybe getting in the habit of, if you know you have an upcoming demo, carrying the devices around for a day or two, even just one day before the demo, and then that'll populate your dashboard with data. So once you guys receive your devices, I can help you get the devices assigned and set up in here. And then if you want to start carrying them around, like I said, just right before your demos, then you'll be able to populate your own dashboard. But let me go ahead and get into a live dashboard so we can just take a look at what that looks like. And I'll go from there. Okay. Alrighty, so what we're looking at now is a live customer dashboard. This is the customer I was just talking about, where they've been working with us for years and we have a really close relationship with them, and they've given us permission to use their dashboard since it does always have really great data in it to look at. And so once you're, actually carrying the devices around, using the devices, when you get logged into the dashboard, this is what you'll see. And you'll have essentially just like this high level overview of where all the assets are currently located. If you hover over any of these little worker icons, you'll get some information about who the worker is. And you'll also notice if we zoom in, there's actually a whole bunch stacked on top of each other here. And then you can kind of see some of the geofences that are set up on the dashboard as well. If you go ahead and click on any of these, little worker icons, it'll open up the worker details page for that specific worker. When we're looking at the worker details page, you'll always see this. And it looks like this person probably just logged in for the day not too long ago, because they are in a different time zone. So one thing you'll always see is 2 little icons here. So the green one is always going to be the first report time of the day, or, date range. You can always change the date range up here as well if you want to. So the green will always indicate the first time the device reported for the selected date or date range, and then the red icon will show the most recent report from the device. And then what you'll see in between, and this isn't the best example, I'll see if I can find a better example, but what you'll see in between is a breadcrumb trail every time the device reported in. So let me go ahead and just see if I can find maybe a better example. Yeah, it looks like they're mostly probably all just getting to work, but you can kind of see what I mean here a little bit better. So this is typically what you'll see is this first report time, which is going to be the green icon, and then the red report time, which is going to be the red icon, which is going to be the most recent time the device reported in. And then everything in between all of these little dots indicates what one time that the device sent data to the backend. So if you hover over any of these, you'll see what time the report was, the battery percentage, if they were in any specific zone or geofence, you'll see that here as well. And then the type down here, you'll see it says GPS. So the devices can report via GPS, via Bluetooth, or via Wi-Fi. So you'll see that as well. And that's just telling you how the device sent the message out to the backend. This guy hasn't spent any time inside of any of the geofences yet for the day. But let me go ahead and just expand the date range just a smidge, and we'll see if we can get some. Yeah. So what I just did was I just went ahead and changed it from just today's date to a date range. And now what we're looking at is movement throughout, this first half of the week. But then what we're able to see over here is the amount of time in this date range that he spent in each of the geofences that he was in for these past 2.5 days. So I accessed this page from this homepage map, and I'm sorry, my internet's been a little slow, so it's lagging here, but I access this page from this homepage map by clicking on one of the worker icons, but you can also go down to resources, go to the workers page, and here you'll see all of your workers populate. You'll be able to see if they currently have a device assigned to them. And then you can access that same page by clicking on this info icon under the actions column. So there's two ways that we can get there. I am going to go back to this workers page really quick just to point something out. So you'll see, you know, the worker ID, which is that unique ID that's assigned to the worker. It can be alphanumeric. They just decided to go with just these letters, but you can add in numbers, whatever. Sometimes customers might want it to be like an employee ID number if they have already assigned employee ID numbers. It's completely up to the customer how they want to assign the worker ID. And then, of course, the name of the worker. And then you'll notice that some workers have a device serial number and then other workers don't. So for this specific dashboard, the way they have their devices assigned is using NFC device assignment. So when we see the device serial number next to the worker's name in this worker's list, that's indicating that the NFC ID card that belongs to Jaden is inserted into this device. So, you know, when his ID card is inserted, the device is assigned to him. If he takes his ID card out, that's when we would not see a device serial assigned. So Nathaniel maybe isn't supposed to be working today. Maybe he's, you know, not supposed to be coming until the afternoon for whatever reason. Maybe he's sick and didn't come into work, but either way, he has not slid his ID card into a device yet for today. Any questions about any of that? I know I'm going to cover a lot of information in a short period of time, so I just want to make sure it's all making sense before we move on.
The Mario.
I'm good here.
Alrighty, sounds good.
Thank you.
Perfect. Okay, well, yeah, as I keep going, if you need me to make something more clear or if you have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me wherever we're at. Like I said, we'll cover a lot of information in a short period of time, so I want to make sure it's all making sense. We won't spend too much time going through all the reports. I think it'll be most beneficial when you guys get into the dashboard and have some of your own data to look at, but we'll go through it kind of quickly. And then what I want to focus more so on is the admin and setup side of the dashboard. So on the timekeeping drop down, you'll see a bunch of different reports that you can run. Most customers are going to be most interested in this timekeeping report right here. So this is, and I still have it selected for a date range. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of narrow that down a little bit so that we're not looking at as much data. So what we're looking at on this timekeeping report is every time the workers clocked in and out. So anytime these workers slid their ID card into to a PSD and then removed their ID card from a PSD, and we are looking at Tuesday and Wednesday, so that's why you'll see some names repeated here twice. I just want to be clear about that, but if we go ahead and just change it to, you know, the 17th, now we'll see, you know, we'll see that people are getting to work, clocking in, and they haven't clocked out because it's still the morning time for this customer. So again, what we're seeing here is the first time that they clocked in for the day, so the first time Caitlin slid her ID card in, and then she hasn't taken her ID card out yet. But if we go to Wednesday, so now Tuesday. So now we're looking at Tuesday for Caitlin. We can see that she arrived to work at 5:11, slid her ID card in, and then she left work at 3:02 in the afternoon. That's the last time she slid her ID card out, and then you can see the total amount of time that she was clocked in. Now, if Caitlin left for like a lunch break or something like that and took her ID card out when she left and then came back to work after lunch, slid her ID card back in, we would see that if we click this little icon under the actions column. Yeah, and this is a great example. So now what we're seeing here, I was started looking at a date range, but now what we're seeing here is every time she would have slid her ID card in and taken her ID card out and slid it back in and taken it out. So even if she had left for, like I said, lunch, we would see that here, but this isn't a great example of that because she didn't. She just had her ID card inserted the whole time. But like I said, this is probably going to be the report in the timekeeping section that most customers are going to be interested in, especially if one of their big focuses is timekeeping. Um, Attendance charts, alignment, lost time. You know, like I said, I think that it'll be most beneficial for you guys to kind of just get some data in the dashboard and then kind of play around with these. But equipment utilization, if a customer is using devices, whether that be the panic button or the Core Scout for equipment metrics, then that's when you would see data here. This customer is not, so we're not going to see anything in there. And then under the more reports page, it's exactly what it sounds like, shockingly. It's more reports. So you can see, you can run reports on what time employees are arriving to specific zones, attendance charts. So if people aren't showing up for work or if people are showing up late, if anyone's getting into overtime, who's arriving to work last. And by arriving to work, I mean sliding their ID card in last. Time that people are spending in different zones, off-site, zone transition, so how long it's taking people to get from one zone to another. So a whole bunch of reports that can be run here. On the safety page down here, we'll look at the incident map first. So there are two different type of safety alerts that can be triggered in using the devices. One of them is going to be the SOS alert, which is probably what most customers are going to be interested in testing and getting familiar with and rolling out to their employees. And this alert can be triggered by rapidly pressing the red SOS button 5 times within 5 seconds. So 5 rapid button presses. When somebody triggers an SOS alert, the device is going to give them audio and visual feedback. So it's going to make some chirping noises, and the LED lights will flash different colors. And so that's a confirmation to the worker that their SOS alert got out and is being sent to the bathroom. So when the SOS alert gets sent out, it shows up in 3 different places. One of those places is going to be a dashboard notification. So you can see here, we don't have any SOS alerts to look at. So I'll just go ahead and expand that a little bit and see if we do. Okay, perfect. So let's see, Ethan triggered an SOS alert at 12:30. So we see that come up in dashboard notification, and then it's logged here in the incident map that we're looking at. And then it's also going to get sent out via text message notification to whatever admin or manager is assigned to be receiving those alerts. So whatever admin or manager is going to get a text on their phone that says who triggered the alert, what type of alert it is, whether it's an SOS alert or a pre-call alert. And then it's also going to go to whatever admin or manager is assigned to receive these alerts via email notification as well. So they'll get a text, they'll get an email, and they'll get a dashboard notification. The most beneficial notification is definitely going to be the email, because it's going to contain the most amount of information. So it'll also let you know, in addition to who triggered the alert, what kind of alert, when it was triggered, it's also going to tell you if they're in any zones, so any geofences. And then it'll also include a Google Maps link. So whoever receives the alert can go ahead and just click right on that Google Maps link. It'll open up the Google Maps page and it'll show you exactly where the worker is located. So in the event of a true emergency, it eliminates the need to pull up the dashboard, remember your login, locate the incident map, and find the worker. We're really trying to just cut down on the time it takes to deploy help to somebody who really needs it. And then the second alert is the fall alert. So you can see Joshua triggered fall alert. And, obviously this many people are not calling and needing to trigger SOS alerts. I think these are all just tests. This customer is testing with their employees, making sure people are familiar with how to use the device and everything like that. But a fall alert, the type of fall alert that the device does is a free fall alert. We do want to be clear about that. It's not a trip and fall. The main difference between the two is that a trip and fall alert is probably what you think of if you remember like the Life Alert commercials. I don't know if anyone does, but A trip and fall is dependent on impact, so how hard the device would hit the ground or hit something. A free fall alert, which is what our fall alerts do, is dependent on how far the device falls. So not on how hard it hits the ground, but on how far the device drops. So it does have to drop straight down for 1.5 meters. Once you guys get your devices in hand, if you got kind of want to get familiar with what this is like, instead of having to like throw yourself off of a ladder, what you can do is just toss the device up in the air and catch it. That's a good way to trigger the alert. But again, we do just want to be really clear and upfront in order to manage expectations with the customer that it is a free fall alert, not a trip and fall. Any questions about that?
Here's my question,
Yes.
because it's great to have a million zillion features.
Mm-hmm.
What are like the questions for all the features and function you just talked about, around the timekeeping aspect, the fall aspect? Who would the best people be to talk about those? Like, what industries are you seeing the fall? And not the fall, right? But I call it falling from scaffolding, not
Yeah, exactly.
Amanda falling down because she's 5 feet tall. It's not gonna, that's the trip and fall. So we had that conversation yesterday. So who are the best clients for it that you see? And then my other question is, what are the questions that you would typically ask to uncover opportunities from the timekeeping all the way back to be able to build value propositions?
I can jump in there, Jasmine, if you'd like.
Perfect. Yeah, for sure.
So to the trip and fall point, I mean, it's typically just certain types of construction where, like you said, where you're working with scaffolding. I've had a few meetings with people who do road work, and obviously the trip and fall or the free fall isn't as important to them because they're not working at height. And then to the timekeeping point, it's really just important to dig into how are they capturing time today? Is it, is everyone to have to find their supervisor when they get there and tell them, hey, I'm here? Do they clock everyone in at once? Is there an iPad on site? Like trying to figure out, how are people documenting time and what are the pain points there? Like how is that adding time to their day? Because the timekeeping here is obviously like automatic. Once you come on site, you slide your ID in and it's it clocks you in. So it's really good for lone workers situations and where you have like a really scattered workforce. So it's also important to know, once they have that data, does someone have to go in and, put that manually into a spreadsheet? Do they have ADP? Just understanding their payroll platform can be a good discovery question as well. That kind of
Do
cover
you
where
all by
you're
chance have an ROI calculator?
ROI calculator. I don't think we've built that out yet, but I can I guess what would the elements you would think Lee would be in there in an ROI calculator?
I think we can build it. I just thought I'd ask before I went and invented the wheel.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that'd be great. I'm happy to work with you on that too. If you have any questions. And so I think you were also had some questions about how you're getting data into the dashboards. Um, so like Jasmine said, like just carrying the device around will give you a data set, and now you have 5 devices. So if you have anyone going on sales trips, it'd be good to just kind of you can see people all over the country kind of moving around the map. If you have anyone who has to, run errands during the day, just kind of encourage people to move the device around as much as possible so you get like kind of a diverse data set. And then I can work with you if you have any specific use cases that you're looking to illustrate where you kind of can't do that with the data you have in there. Let me know and I can provide some screenshots that we have of the dashboards that you can put into pitch decks.
Well, keep going, Jasmine. Thank you.
Right, sounds good. We can also, through the dashboard, set up rules. So primarily, we see people use the rule feature for, access control. notification. So you can go ahead and click on this big red plus button to set up a new role, name the role, start and end time. If there's any geofences that this pertains to. So let's say there's a couple geofences where, you know, people need a certain level of access to be able to be in those areas, and you want to get notified if somebody who doesn't have access enters any of those geofences. So you can go ahead and select what geofences this applies to. If there's any exceptions, like let's say Chris and Tracy and Braden or do have access to be in these zones, we can go ahead and enter them in as exceptions so that, you know, you won't get notified if they're in there, but if anyone else enters who does not have access, you can get notified. Go ahead and set up a rule. And then on the rule violations page, this is where we would see any violations. You can see this particular dashboard is not utilizing rules, but I just want to point that out anyways. On the communications page, we have two separate types of communication that we can do. So one of them being SMS messaging. When we set up a new worker account in the dashboard, if you add in a cell phone number for the worker, you'll be able to actually send text messages right to their cell phone. So what's nice about this is it obviously keeps all the messaging in one place. It's visible for everybody, and everyone can see, you know, who sent out a message, who received it, what the message was, creates that paper trail. And then we can also do audible device alerting. So for customers who don't allow cell phones on site, don't want to enter in worker cell phone numbers, we can still do dashboard to device alerting. So we can select whatever workers you're trying to contact and then send out an audible alert. So the device will make a chirping sound. And then there is only one that the device will make, but then any worker would just know that if they hear this sound, it means there's an emergency evacuation at a muster point or inclement weather, seek shelter, whatever that would be for that specific client. But we can do device alerting as well. There is productivity reporting that can get set up in the dashboard as well. There's not going to be anything in here for us to look at because this customer is not utilizing that. But like I said, I did want to take a little bit of time, and we're running short on time, so I apologize about that. On the location section of the dashboard, this under site maps, this is where we can set up geofences. So it's super simple to create the geofences, and this is one of the things that we typically do in a customer onboarding session. So when walking the customer through the dashboard for the first time, we always like to get geofences set up. So we can just enter in the address or the coordinates. It'll just take you right to the geofence or to the location where you want to create the geofence. I'm just going to use this as an example since it's already there. To create a new geofence, you can use this little polygon icon up here, and you just drag and drop the points, and then it'll ask you to give the geofence a name. If you need to edit a geofence, you can just find the geofence using this list down here, and then click this little mouse icon, and it'll allow you to move around the points of the geofence and edit the geofence however you need. On the admin side of the dashboard, this is where we can add workers, make sure devices are assigned, set up new projects. So a dashboard can be broken up into multiple projects. This can be based on location, or, you know, trade, or however the customer wants to break up the dashboard. Some people just like to keep everything under one project. And then on the workers page, this is where we can, you know, manage all the workers in the account, but also add new workers to the dashboard. So now we're looking at every worker that's in this dashboard has been added to the dashboard. It's super simple to add a new worker. There's options to do like bulk upload of workers if you're hoping the customer upload like 100 workers at a time, or you can just do the single worker upload. This is where you have the option to add in that cell phone number if you want to be able to utilize the text messaging feature in the dashboard. Same thing for equipment and tools. It's exactly like the workers setup page, but there's not going to be anything in here for us to look at. This customer isn't utilizing equipment or tools. And then down here on the hardware page is where we can see all of the panic buttons or PSUs that are in a dashboard. And then you can see who it's assigned to, what the unique serial number is, the last time the device reported, whatever its carry percentage is. And then this is also where you can assign it to a worker if you want to. Just go ahead and click this little clipboard icon, and now you'll be able to see any worker who does not currently have a device assigned to them. On the beacons page, this is where we can also get beacons assigned. So if the customer is utilizing BLE beacons, that are two different things that the beacons can be used for. One of them is going to be tool and asset tracking, and the other one will be for more precise indoor positioning. So here we can go ahead and get the beacons assigned, whether it's to a tool, a worker, or a point on the map for indoor positioning. On the NFC tags page, you can manage all of the NFC tags. You can assign them to workers or unassign them from workers and add new NFC tags. If you are working with a customer that already ID cards that they use for access control, that 99% of the time means already using NFC. And more often than not, we find that they are compatible with the TXCs, so that's kind of nice. Instead of having to use our own NFCs, we can just one of the customer's existing ID cards, make sure it's compatible with our devices, and then they can use their own NFC cards. Again, to be clear, we do always want to get a sample ID card if the customer does want to use their own ID cards, just to make sure it's compatible and there's we don't need any hiccups or anything like that. So I know we're a little over on time. I do want to be respectful of this. I know that was a lot of information, and just want to make sure everyone is in a good place. If you have any questions, if there's anything we want to talk a little bit more about, I'm happy to do so as
Are you still there, Jasmine? We lost you.
well. I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you again.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I was just saying, I know we're a little over on time. I want to be respectful of that, but I want to make sure everyone feels like they're in a good place. If there's any questions that anyone has, anything we want to talk a little bit further about, I'm happy to do so as well now.
Y'all have questions, y'all have thoughts, any comments, any feedback? Because y'all be very quiet. You must think it's morning time. Nobody's had coffee.
No, you did a good job. Thanks.
Jasmine, yeah, I have a question, because there's so many features to this, right? It's not just safety devices. Obviously, there's a huge component to this that's like, field force manager, recording data for clock-ins and geofencing and things of that nature. What kind of feedback or key selling points have you guys gotten, if you have gotten any, for customers? Is the data reporting for clock-ins and punch outs and things of that nature, is that what you're hearing about is like a key component to selling, or is it more the panic side and things of that nature?
Question.
Yeah. So I think it really does depend on the type of customer. So obviously for a lot of construction-based customers, they care a lot about the safety aspect. That is primarily, I think, what people like a huge selling point for most customers is the safety aspect, but of course also timekeeping. They want to make sure especially employers want to make sure that they're not
Yeah, I
paying
would
people
say
when
that
they're not.
sorry, Jasmine.
No, feel free to hop in. I think Drew might be a better person to speak to this anyways.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I think it basically breaks down to timekeeping. safety, and then operational intelligence are kind of the three buckets I would put the selling points into. And time management is more important to some customers than others. I think you'd be surprised how many conversations we have where, you have 400 guys on a site and they're doing it all, pen and paper on a clipboard, capturing time. So to have something where it's automatic, your guy gets on site and it clocks him in, and then it's location validated, so you know that he's actually there. And you're not getting like buddy punching or anything like that, if you know what that is. So that's been extremely valuable, I would say. And
I
then
want to I want to call out what buddy punching is. That is, Mario, you're running late for work, but Amanda's on time, so she clocks herself in and clocks you in. That's
Mhm.
buddy punching, just to say it out loud so we all are on the same page.
Yeah,
Keep going,
totally.
Drew.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out. And so then I guess going through the safety elements, I think, fall detection is obviously more important to some people than others. But having the SOS button and having a dispatchable location where people can get to you if you're injured or if there's anything wrong, is probably the biggest selling point of the safety bucket. And then as far as operational intelligence, like you said, there's a lot of features in here, so it really is just about figuring out what's important to the client, and we can usually get those data points to them. So whether it's who's using what tools, or how much time are my guys spending in the staging area versus actual production areas versus the break room, things like that. So just understanding where everyone is and when, and how are my resources operating on a site.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this being, one product that could cover a couple of different solutions for, a construction firm that's on site in, a pretty bad area. So you got guys that potentially could fall off a scaffold. You got equipment that could possibly be stolen.
Yeah.
And then you want to make sure everyone's there on time and things of that nature. So, that would be the perfect, ideal situation to walk into from my end. But I was just wondering how, one component of this solution, does it overlap the other,
Yeah. And I think,
and I guess my next question is, like, as far as like the panic, the safety portion of this solution is, like, how quick do you guys know? Is there data on how, is there a delay on the actual panic button being,
I think it depends
being
on
used?
connectivity
Yeah.
and whether it's being fed in through Wi-Fi or through cellular. I think at the longest with low connectivity, Jasmine, correct me if I'm wrong, is 15 seconds.
Yeah.
Um,
I would think that's really long. I mean, the amount of data that this takes, I would think it's going to be there in
it's
like a couple seconds. Like,
right. It's pretty
it's like a
instantaneous,
text
but
message.
yeah.
Even
Yeah.
Because I'm assuming that that's a question, right? That's a question that's always going to happen is, hey, how the alert is it instant? I'm just already projecting like that being a question, like immediately.
So if it's directly through our platform, I think it's pretty instantaneous, to your point.
Yeah, it is. It's just it's within like a second or so. And once you guys get your devices, definitely you'll want to test this and just pull up the dashboard, have your email out, and you'll see how quickly when you trigger an SOS alert, or you'll see how immediate you receive that notification.
Thank you.
And Lee, I have like a list of discovery questions that I use when I'm presenting core. I'm happy to pass that over to the team.
It'd be great if you'd send that to me so we can post them.
Sure.
Question for you. Your GPS, I was thinking about my little ROI calculator that I'm thinking about. Does it, would it provide mileage?
That is a good question. Jasmine, do you? You mean like mileage traveled? Is that kind of what you're getting at? Yeah.
Yeah, so any data that is being collected by the device can be turned into a report. So no mileage is not readily available in the dashboard, but what we can do is we can go ahead and have a report configured that gets sent out once a day, twice a day, 3 times a day, once a week, however frequently, and it'll just go straight to, whoever wants to receive the support report straight to their inbox, and it can contain that information. So it can show like Drew went X amount of miles on, June 16th. So if we're collecting the data, we can configure it into a report and have that sent out. It just isn't necessarily readily available in the dashboard.
Okay.
How are you thinking of using that, Lee, as in terms of like an ROI calculator?
Think about anybody who has to travel. I'm thinking home health, right?
Mhm.
Or thinking about home health, and people use their own vehicles and they have to turn in and get mileage reimbursement.
Oh, that's yeah.
And so how much time you spend on a job. So it's really that accountability in building back, that if they're you've now hit the trifecta. I've got a personal safety device. It tells me that I've arrived at Mrs. Jones' house. I was there for 37
Yeah.
minutes, and my travel to her house was 12 miles.
Yeah. And I'm thinking for that use case, even you could maybe put like a BLE tag in the cars so they know, I'm at Mrs. Jones' house and I've exited my car, so we know how long the visit is. And then it knows once I'm back in my car, so how long am I spending in the car actually traversing between different locations. So that could potentially be that could be a good use case. I will
I
I'll
don't know
talk
that
with
you
our
would
team
need the
about
BLE, because the car would start moving and you would be tracking time.
that's true. Yeah. Okay.
And you would have a stop report that shows how long they were stopped at that location.
Okay.
That was a question comment. It was half comment and half question.
Okay. Let me look into that because that seems like it'd be a really good use case. I know we have some partners like Everbridge are selling into home health right now.
We will too. So, but yeah, if your software could give us those two things as a report, I would, because you've got the data. The question is just getting the report.
Okay.
So if you can let me know and confirm, that would be great.
All right. I'll add that to my list. All right. Any other questions? Anything we can address for everyone here?
Amanda, what questions? Like if you were thinking some of your clients, what questions do you have?
I don't know that I do off the top of my head. Jocelyn did good going through, but I mean, I can try to think of some. How long does the battery last? I do have that question.
So that will depend on how it's configured, right? So how often it's reporting to
Sure.
us. So I
Yeah.
think the default is every 3 minutes, and then the battery lasts 5 days in that case.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, but then if you don't need data that often, you can kind of juice out that so it only sends a report every 10 minutes, 20 minutes, what have you. But we can also go the other way too. If you need reporting every minute, then that's just gonna reduce the amount of battery life you're gonna have on a single charge.
And how are you charging it? Is it just a
It's
regular cord
USB-C.
or?
Yeah, it's USB-C.
Okay.
Yeah, it takes about 90 minutes for a full charge. If it's completely dead, it'll take about 90 minutes to charge to 100%. And that 5 days
Jasmine,
in addition.
is anyone else having a tough time understanding?
I was, yeah.
Okay, Jasmine, I think you're breaking out a little bit.
Guys.
But I think she was saying it's 90 minutes for a full charge. And I couldn't really catch the rest of it. Sorry, Jasmine.
And how long does it last?
5 days, they said. if you do the normal configuration.
Yep. Yeah, so 5 days if it's reporting every 3 minutes, which is kind of our default. And then there's also like an idle mode on it. So if it's sitting completely still, not like if you're sitting with it in your pocket, like if you put it on a desk and leave it, it'll go into idle mode and that saves some battery too. So it can last longer than 5 days.
I have one more question. It's kind of crazy, but
All right, go for it.
does it work? Is this just limited to working on the ground? Is it capable of working, in the sky?
In the sky as in like a
Like
helicopter
as
or
far
like
as
a skyscraper?
someone in an airplane,
Okay.
35,000 feet.
That's actually funny. We got a question about this last week. And I think it depends on how fast they're moving and how high up they are. I think we've been I think in theory it can work in like a helicopter that's moving low to the ground. We were talking with a customer last week who was thinking about using these to track the transport of inmates for like medical reasons when they have to helivac them out. So I think it would definitely depend. If you have any questions like that after a customer call, Mario, you can just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so many independent contractors now on the law enforcement side that do their own side work, marshals, things of that nature that are, in the skies on a daily basis, 2, 3 flights. And I would assume if they don't have something, what do they use for distress right now? So I'm just curious about that.
Okay. I think we're waiting on some answers to those questions as well. So as soon as I have them, I'll let you know.
Yeah,
Hey,
that would be
Mario.
great because I
Yeah.
have a lead for something like that, and I
Okay.
would like to at least this would be a great solution to pitch.
Okay.
So
Let me
that
make a note
said,
to
I'm
get
going
you
to
an
ask
answer.
another question that I know the answer to, but I'm going to let you answer it just in case the 1% chance I'm wrong.
Okay.
Do these devices work on Wi-Fi inside a building and then cellular outside the building?
Yeah, I think it works on a mix of inputs depending on what it's configured. Jasmine, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we have to enable it to be able to work on Wi-Fi.
That is correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when it's indoors, it will use cellular. The cellular tends to get a little more spotty as it relates to positioning, trying to position you within a building. So that's when we introduce things like these BLE tags, or we have certain partners that can do infrastructureless indoor positioning. Lee, I don't know if we've discussed that as of yet with you. And when I say
Put
infrastructure,
that on the call to discuss next time.
okay.
But Amanda, because I'm picking on you because you've had no questions yet today. So I'm going to ask you a question.
I asked about battery.
Okay. Why would you want BLEs on the inside?
So that you can pinpoint exactly where whoever the person is carrying that device is.
Yes, exactly. Good job. You get your A+ for the day.
Well done.
But it's it's those little things that we've got to make sure that we're highly accurate on.
Mhm.
So to confirm, if this were used in a school, right? So talking about our coaches and stuff like that, where I think we could have some luck. It could be programmed so that it would connect to the school's Wi-Fi. And then when the coach is gone and on a field trip, it works on cellular, but when it's inside the building, if cellular's not available, it can fall back to the Wi-Fi.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's always trying to access cellular data, but we can configure it so that it can also connect to Wi-Fi when the connection gets a little spotty.
Was good thing I left myself the 1% because I actually thought it was negative Ghost Rider.
Awesome.
I had it opposite. It's my one time being wrong this year.
All right. It's a pretty good track record.
Andrew,
Right.
Jen, Betsy, what questions do y'all have? Because Jen, you're going to end up with calls. People are going to ask you questions for sure. Betsy, you're going to be on the side for the implementation. There are going to be questions there as well.
I think my question would be is I know that these y'all are gonna insert the sibs in these. How long does that process take from when we place an order that y'all will get these y'all can get these up and running for us?
That's a better question for Jasmine, I think.
To get them up and running.
Yeah, what does that process look like for us to get that order over to you? And then what would be an ETA from when you get the order to when they would ship out to us?
Yeah, so we have some documentation already that was put together for another partner on what the ordering process is. So I'm happy to send that over after this call. So you guys will just have that right in front of you. But essentially we have an orders email. So it's just orders@bossiq.com. There's a list of information that we need in order to get the order placed. So I mean, it's all the basic stuff. It's, customer recipient name, email address, phone number, shipping address, company name, obviously how many devices the customer needs, any accessories, SIM cards. I believe you guys are always going to be using T-Mobile SIM cards. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it's okay. Yeah. So then we don't have stock of T-Mobile SIM cards on site. So you guys would need to have the SIM cards shipped to us, the T-Mobile SIM cards. So once we receive the SIM cards, we'll give you guys an ETA on when they should ship out. Typically, we turn things around in just like 2 days, depending on the size of the order and what's already in the queue. But we have a pretty good time turning things around very quickly. And then once the order ships, we share the tracking number and then shipping manifest as well. So a list of serial numbers for anything in the box. So, devices, so hardware, NFC cards, beacons, whatever is in the box, will get a list of serial numbers. And then everything is preloaded into the customer dashboard before it ships.
Okay, so 2 to 3 days it'll ship out.
Right.
Can we have it ship out in our name, not y'all's name on the package?
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Okay.
Then we would just ship drop ship. And
Yeah.
then for the portal training, typically our team, once they're up to speed, they handle the walkthrough of the portal. So you mentioned they're already going to be loaded. So is that something that your other partners do? They do their own portal training with their end users, their clients?
Yeah, typically with partners, we don't have contact with the customer at all.
Yeah.
So typically any communication would go through you guys.
Perfect.
Yeah, so once you guys are comfortable with the onboarding process, then yes, you would run your own onboardings. But we're happy to help with the first few or however many is needed until you guys are comfortable to do that on your own.
Now, what I'd actually like to do is a joint model, right? So our team working, like, we'll do some practice ones in-house once we get some data. And then that way, when we're in front of a client, then they actually will crawl walk. But we would like you to be on the call so we don't fall down and go boom. And then, after we do a few, we should be able to crawl, walk, run pretty fast.
Yeah.
Puma did a fairly good overview yesterday, but we didn't have any data in the portal. So it was rough. Because you couldn't see anything, so then things don't mean anything at that point.
Right.
Drew, I want to talk to you offline in our next meeting, if you'll put on there, about branding the devices to actually have ProteqNet on them.
Okay.
And obviously that's not day one, but
Yeah.
that. And then if we were to send you a couple hundred, so 2 questions. What is your average first order size? What size, if you were going to say your average, what does an average order look like?
From an end client or from through a reseller partner?
Just a client, right? When you see new accounts being added, what's the average size?
It's tough to say just because certain, like some clients are a little more apprehensive with their budget, so they'll order 4 devices just to make sure it works, right? And then we have some clients, if they're ordering through an Everbridge and they've already done business with them, they'll order, 100 devices up front, like right off the bat. So it's tough to say what the average order size would be. I would say that it's probably a good idea in most cases to start with a small amount of devices to make sure it's going to work at the site you're going to use, and that all the people who are kind of your stakeholders know how to use the devices before going full bore across like an entire organization.
If we send you a couple hundred Sims, you can hang on to them until we use them.
I believe so.
Yeah,
Jasmine?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what I don't want to do is have to slow our process down, because we have to ship you the SIM cards. So we'll start with shipping 100 to you. So Betsy, if you can work on that, we'll get 100 over, and then that should get us out of the gate. Maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe we'll have 500 on the first order.
That'd be great.
That's a good
Mario,
problem to
that's your
have.
job.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. I've got another call in 4 minutes. Anybody else have any other questions? Drew and
All right.
Jasmine, thank you for your time this morning.
Yeah.
My team stay on for just a moment.
All right.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Does anybody need anything from Andrew or Betsy this morning?
I do need something from Amanda. Amanda, Ron's going to email you or already has about Granger.
Okay. He
just
has
make
not
sure.
yet, just to let you know.
Okay. He needs very specific layout for their buses because
Okay.
it seems like there's a wiring. He said there's some kind of wiring extra
I can
pieces
call
that are
him
going to be
too.
needed. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I have his number. Okay.
Uh, Steven just sent an email to, there's a conflict for Phoenix Security Hawaii on a
I forwarded it
PT.
to you in Genly. To put it at the top of y'all's box.
Okay.
Yeah, I was looking at
It's
it.
the conflict.
Okay.
They already have it registered for the 20 SD7 Ultras.
Okay.
It's just
Is what it
that's the only
is.
one out of that group that got tagged. It looks like.
Anything else? All right. Jen, is there anything you need from me right now in the next minute? Because you got 1 minute. Mario, I'll find some more minutes to circle back with you on Crow.
Yeah, I just one thing regarding that. You had wanted me to create a ticket for the installers to go out and fix that issue with the creating removing the toggle and wire to the ignition.
Correct.
I was just stuck on that. Everyone was busy, so now that we're
So
here,
Andrew, what I want, and then if you can walk Mario through on how to do this, for Crow Creek, they quit using service because of the toggle and the batteries were draining. So we are going to rewire, and I'm not going to charge them. So he needs to create a ticket to get a quote for untoggling and wiring. I'd like to see if we can find a local installer versus Smith, because I think it'll be cheaper because Smith has so far to go to get to South Dakota, but I don't think it's more than 1 day's work. to rewire. Everything is installed. It's just remove the toggle switch and go direct to the power source.
Okay.
All right. I got to jump. Bye, y'all.
Okay.
Hey, Andrew, on that one, we will need to find out from Puma if they're going to need that. I don't even know what router it is for Crow Creek.
I don't either. I have no
but
idea.
they may need that Peplink cable, that DC cable that we.
ACW 634.
Sure, yeah, that one. Yeah, we may need that one.
And she's saying
Okay.
she didn't want to charge him for nothing. So
Yeah, I don't know who we used last time for Crow Creek up there. I don't think it was Smith because I think they were too expensive. Well, because it is. It's way up there. Okay. All right. Well, we have the support call. All right.
see ya.